on the first page, like this one?
No, we're doing the table.
You're still on the table?
I just have the beginning of the table.
Okay, so to remind anyone out there in the cyber world, happy Cyber Monday, by the way. It is the 28th. We're doing 7-3, and then we will get into 7-4. So, I've adjusted your due dates on Schoology, by the way. They're all accurate now. So when you log into Schoology, those due dates, you can trust them. So please pay attention to that. I adjusted the 7-3-4 combined assignment to be due tomorrow night, I want to say. Maybe I made it Wednesday night. I think I made it Wednesday night. I think I decided to be nice. And then 7-5, I made due Thursday night. Our goal, and what is like going to happen, is we will have your Chapter 7 mastery on Friday. Because we're going to finish Chapter 7 by Wednesday. So Thursday will probably be a review day, but please get that work done. You need to have the practice work done to take the mastery. So here we were talking about terms, coefficients, and constants. Who can remind us of what terms, coefficients, and constants, like what does all this vocab mean? Abby?
So should I just say what
Yeah, like what are terms, what are coefficients, what are constants? How do we define these things?
A term is kind of like either an equation or an expression.
They're in equations and expressions.
They're like unknown values.
Like, we did the first column, right? Did we do the second column? We did not do this. So, Abby, you want to help me with the second column? I think this could help us. How many terms are there here?
3.
3 different terms. What are the coefficients?
The coefficients are like, it's a constant multiplier to a variable.
Yeah, it's the multiplier to the variable. So we've got a variable here, so we look for a multiplier, and a variable here we look for a multiplier. Variable here we look for a multiplier.
So there's only 2.
Well, what multiplies by the x?
2 tenths.
0.2. So guys, please make sure you're filling this in with us. That's a comma, kind of a giant comma. You should have these saved. We did these a while ago. Yeah, like we did them not last Thursday because that was Thanksgiving, but before that. You should have them. They're 7-3. Yeah, 7-3. And 8.1. But what multiplies by the y? Something has to multiply by it for it to exist. Like how many of me is there? 1. If there wasn't 1 of me, I wouldn't exist. If there were 0 of me, poof, I'd disappear. You wouldn't have math class today. So, yeah, not surprised I got a few celebrations. Shane, what multiplies by that y? Ooh, close. -1. The sign in front of a term goes with it. So this negative belongs with the y, so its multiplier is actually -1. Guys, this is where people screw up. Please make sure you have this written down. We have 3 coefficients. We have 2 tenths, -1, and 8.1. So now, when we talk about constant terms, what is a constant? What does it mean to be constant? Yeah, Casey? It's always there, and it's like, do we know what it is? Like, if you have a constant value, do you know what it is? Yeah, like, if it's constant, we know it. So, like, a good example of something that's constant, money. Like, $10 is $10. All day long, every day, no matter what. It won't change. But if I have, like, a credit card or a debit card, I don't necessarily know what's on that. That might be variable. But $10 is $10. So here, what's my constant value? Casey, do you know? That's a coefficient. It multiplies. So since it's attached to the variable, 0.2 itself is a constant, but in our expression, it's attached. It turns into a variable term. Our -1, it's attached, turns into a variable term. The 8.1, it's attached. We don't have any. The symbol for nothing is a 0 with a slash through it. That means the empty set. Or another option is you can put NA. Anyone know what NA means? Not available or not applicable. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It can't happen. There are no constants. Here, Maylee. How many terms do I have? Boom. I have the 7, the 9n, and the negative 6mn. Joe, what are my coefficient values? Yeah, the coefficient's what multiplies the 9, and you're really, really close. Take the sign with it. So it's 9 and negative 6. So right now, it's being used like it looks like subtraction. I agree with you. But remember, there's really no such thing as subtraction. So this is actually 7 plus 9n plus a negative 6mn. And if you need to rewrite it so that you remember why that's a negative 6, go ahead and rewrite it above there. But the sign in front of the term has to go with it. Then my constants, Julia, what do I have as a constant here? Just the 7. And the sign in front of it, even though we don't see it, is a positive. So it's just positive. It is invisible. We don't have to show it. And my last one here. Bella, how many terms do I have? 1. What's my coefficient? 3/4. And there are no constants. Any questions, comments, concerns? Andrew?
Wouldn't 3/4 just be 3 divided by 4, so there would be 2 number of terms?
No, so this is really like another way that we could rewrite this is 3s divided by 4, but since it's all connected through like multiplication, division, it's all tight together. We only have multiple terms when there's arithmetic that has to connect them, so addition or subtraction. So if this was, let's say we had an example of 3, or let's make this harder, half of 3svk divided by 4v, there's still only one term there. It's really messy, really complicated, but since there's no addition subtraction going on, there's just one term. But now if I say plus 4, now there's 2 terms. Minus 7n, now there's 3 terms. So every time we add or subtract something else on, that's a new term. So here, kind of a little bit more messy than what we've been dealing with. How many terms, how many coefficients, or it's not how many, what are the coefficients, and then what are the constants? So Hayden, how many terms? 4 terms here. We've got the 6p, then the negative 7pc, then the 9c, then the negative 4. My coefficient values, Justin?
6, negative 7.
Yeah, negative 7 and 9. Very good. And my constant value? Abby?
4.
Close.
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Any questions on anything from the front page here? Flip on over to the back. I'm jealous of Mrs. Goldring's new desk. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Yep. She got it on buy sell trade. It's big.
Did you get it for Black Friday?
No, she got it on buy sell trade. That's like an online, people sell things they don't want anymore. So here's the thing, and some of you may have noticed on the start slide when you walked in, when we talk about combining like terms and combining expressions, parentheses, you guys have been trained, order of operations, parentheses always happen first. But parentheses can't always happen. We can't always do what the parentheses are telling me to do. So when I look at negative 5x and 4, do I know what the negative 5x actually is? No, because it's got a variable. Do I know what the 4 is? Yeah, it's 4. It's like $4 or, 4 whatever. I can't add these. I could add the negative 9 with the 4. I could add the 11x with the negative 5x, but in this parentheses, I can't do it. So we apply some of our properties when I see I can't do this parentheses and I can't do that parentheses. Question or comment? You sure? Okay. So down here, put a little star next to this. We're applying the commutative and the associative properties at the same time. To commute, if you don't remember, means to do what? What's commute? Anthony? To move. And the associative, when you associate with people, it's your groups. So we are going to move things around and regroup them. This is where it's really important. The sign in front of the term stays with it. So this 9 is a negative 9 or a minus 9 no matter where I move it. So check this out. My negative 5x and my 11x are both variable terms. I decide to put those together. My 4 and my negative 9 are both constant terms. I decide to put those together. So all we really did was we picked up my 11x, plopped it right down here, picked up my 4, moved it over to there. Any questions with what was done so far? All we do is regroup so that we can add. Now, and this step is really optional, so you can go ahead and if you want to, write optional here. Now what they've done is factored. They factored to prove why they can actually combine their like terms. Negative 5x plus 11x is really just x times the negative 5 plus the 11, because they factored out the common x. Any questions on how they factored? The x was common to both of them. Izzy, we're on 7.3. You should have these notes. So the x was common to both of them. That's why they were able to pull it out. Here, there's nothing common to both of them because they're just numbers. So honestly, right here, they could have gone ahead and combined. They didn't do anything. So your optional step there is just them factoring. So then they combine. Negative 5x plus 11x is 6x. 4 plus negative 9 is negative 5. And instead of writing plus a negative, we just rewrite it as subtraction. Any questions? Okay, let's try this. The first one we made easy. We have a binomial and then just a monomial, a single. So, starts a little bit easier than the other one. I need to rearrange so that my like terms are together. So, can I add 2r plus 7? Jack, what do you think? Can I add 2r and 7? So right here, can I do this addition? Can I add a variable with a constant? No, that's like adding like bananas and dollars. Like you can't, it doesn't work. I don't know what the bananas are worth. I do know what the dollars are worth. I can't add them together until I figure out what the variable is. So, what I need you guys to write out here, we are going to rearrange, and actually you could show, we're just going to plug my 5r right between there so that it's with my 2r. So we're going to rewrite this as 2r plus the negative 5r, because the sign in front of it stays with it. Then I can actually close that up. I have 2 open parentheses, that's why I have 2 closed parentheses. Then I still have this plus 7, so then I just go ahead and write plus 7. Justin?
Why can't 2r and 5r be in the same parentheses?
They can right now. This parentheses set is just because it's a negative. So the next thing, and you guys might have more paper than, like more space than I do off to the right, but the next thing that would actually happen, and this goes to answer Justin's point, this parentheses is really 2r minus 5r, because instead of writing plus the negative, I can just write it as subtraction. And then the plus 7 is just still plus 7. Please don't go vertically unless you'll still have space for these other ones. Please try to go to the right. I know you guys have more space than I do, and I should have scooted my page. So if I have 2, what starts with the letter R?
Good morning. Megan Fry, please come to the office.
So if I have 2 rabbits, this is going to get a little morbid. If I have 2 rabbits and we take away 5 rabbits, Well, that can't happen, realistically. But if we tried to do that, how many more rabbits am I missing, or what I need? I would end up with a lack of 3 rabbits. So negative 3r plus 7, that's it, we're done. We're not solving here. We're simplifying. We're rewriting. So, try to keep your eyes on your paper. If you're stuck, look up here. Try to do the next 2 on your own. In the second one, start by rearranging. In the third one, you got to start by distributing. So in your third one here, be careful. We got to distribute this first. Try to keep your eyes on your paper. I'm going to go ahead and write solutions up here. I see what you're asking about. So I've written kind of what I would call like my first step. So we're applying 2 different properties at the same time. Commutative, to move things. Associative, to regroup them. Now we don't actually have to regroup them, it just makes things nice. So I've moved and regrouped, so my variables are together, my constants are together. I distributed, then moved and regrouped. Any questions with how I've gotten to this point in red or this point in blue? We're not done. That's just like my first step. So now, Kylie, when I combine my R values, if you start with 1 rabbit and try to take away 3 rabbits, you'd end up with, careful, we start with 1 positive. So if I start at 1 and then I take away 3, well, I take away 1, I get to 0. Take away 2, take away 3. Yeah, we're at negative 2r plus, well this, if I want to save my time, above it, you can just think of 4 minus 11, because plus a negative is really just subtraction. If you had $4 and you wanted to buy something that was $11, is it? Ooh, yeah, but negative 7. So when this is totally simplified, it'd be negative 2r minus 7. Or you could have plus the negative, but that's kind of messy, so we normally rewrite. Questions? Comments? Bless you. My dogs have been having sneezing fits lately, and it's really funny. I think it's because now the heat's on, the air gets really dry. Have you ever noticed that? Like in the winter, the heat dries out the air. Yeah. So, with my blue expression down here, Atticus, if I look at, and I hate that they're using R. Man, what's another R word? Raspberries, okay. So if I have 5 raspberries, and somebody wants 8 raspberries, they want me to give them 8 raspberries. Do I have enough? No, so I'm going to end up negative 5r plus a negative 8r. What's the difference between 5 and 8? 3. So I have a lack of 3 raspberries. Then I had $5 and somebody gave me $2. I now have $7. And this is done. Because I just have negative 3r plus 7, we're good. It's as cleaned up as I can make it. Any questions? Did you just say this is so, like, makes sense?
No,
Oh.
so does not make sense mixed. That is so fair.
I was gonna say that's the whole point of math is to make sense. That's all that math is. It makes sense of the world. So let's go through here, and you don't have to be as formal, but with each of these, we want to combine the variable terms and combine the constant terms. So CJ, there you are, dude. If I look at 8t minus 3t, or plus a negative 3t, how many t would I end up when I combine those? Yeah, I'd end up with a 5t. Then I have 13 plus 7. What would I end up with there? 20. So I'd end up with 5t plus 20. This is 5t minus 6. Number 1 does not work. Because they want expressions equivalent. We want to find the same. So with my second one here, might as well move on to 2. So step down. Hayden, what do I get when I have a t and 4 more t? Yeah, we get 5t. And then a 9 plus a negative 15. Yeah, so this really, instead of being 9 plus negative 15, it's really 9 minus 15. 6? Negative 6. So 5t plus a negative 6 or 5t minus 6. We've got a negative 6 and we've got a 5t. Option 2 does work. So option 2 matches. Option 3, Lily, what do I have to do to start that? What do you mean do the reverse? When I draw the arrows, what's that called? Starts with a D. We have to distribute. So we first distribute, and this actually becomes negative 10 plus 5t plus 4. Please write this out. I see a lot of hands doing nothing. So now I look for like terms. My negative 10 cannot add with my 5t, but could it add with my 4? Yeah, they're both constant. So if I start with a lack of 10, and then I add 4, not add a lack, but like somebody gives me 4, what am I still negative? I'm still negative, still negative 6, and I still have that 5t, so option 3 also matches. It's got that negative 6, and it's got that positive 5t. Option 4, take a second to try this on your own. You're going to need to write out a little bit of work. I'm telling you right now, you're going to need to write out a little bit of work. So far, option 2 and option 3 work. They match. Yeah, if you want.
Yes. Better.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and change my no capital. Actually, I'm just going to make it a V. T and V sound very similar, so I'm just going to switch it. Flynn, what is the first thing I need to do here? It's kind of evident because I stopped writing. But... So before I ever start trying to combine like terms, you want to check, is there other work that needs done? So it's kind of the same as number 3, what we had to do first. What did we do first in number 3? When we draw the arrows, starts with a D. Distribute. So we got to distribute here. So draw your arrows from the 2 into the t and into the -3. Now here's where it gets dangerous, and I want you guys to check and see if you had the right stuff written down. This becomes 2t minus 6, or plus a -6. You got to be careful because that negative or that minus in there, when I double, it's got to stay that negative or that minus. Now I can start rearranging. So I'm going to bring all of my variable terms to the front. So I go through and I look for my variable terms. This should have been a v if I'm switching to a v.
Yes.
You can use whatever variable you want. People said they didn't like t, so I wanted to stop using t. So I have that variable term and this variable term. So I start with 2v plus 2v. Then my constant values, I have a -1, a +3, and a -6. So I add -1 plus +3 plus a -6. The easiest thing to do, guys, when we have lots of terms, group your positives together, group your negatives together. Now, can I add 2v and 2v? Yeah. What do I get? 4v, or whatever variable you're using. Group the negatives and positives. How many negatives do I have total here? Well, the quantity, not the value. -1 and -6 together, I have a -7 and then a +3. So if I start at -7 and I add 3, where do I end up? -4. And we are done. It does not have the same solution, so it also does not work if we were looking for equivalent expressions. So now here are some of these word problems that throw some of you guys for a loop.
So 1 and 4 didn't work, but 2 and 3 did.
2 and 3 did work. They were equivalent. They came out to be the same.
That makes sense.
So these word problems throw some of you guys for a loop because you try to do too much too quickly. Take a second to read, analyze, underline, highlight, whatever you do to pull out the important info. So take a second on your own. Now, I actually quite hate smarting because they only give me 2 colors of highlighters. My advice for you guys is you should always have 4 colors of highlighters available to you. Whether you're reading, doing science, doing math, whatever you're doing, you should always have 4 different colors that you can use to activate your brain. Yeah. So, who can walk me through how we write and simplify an expression for the perimeter?
So you could do 9.
Sorry, I don't know why that little symbol
Wait,
is
does
there.
it have to be like a distributive property?
Nope.
So would it be 9 plus W?
With what? The whole perimeter? So let's chunk this. Let's make this easier. So I feel like you're trying to move a whole mountain at once.
Yeah,
We can't do that.
that's true.
Justin?
So we don't know the length.
Yeah, we actually don't know anything. Aside from 9 feet
No,
long.
that's 9 feet. So it would be 9 times W.
Careful. I want us to back all the way up and forget about this problem for a minute. Anthony, how do I solve any perimeter for a rectangle?
You have to, like the width would be two sides.
Okay.
The rectangle, and then you find the height.
So if I were to ask you, give me an equation or a formula for finding perimeter, it would be what?
Width plus length. Width plus length.
Yeah, like width plus length plus width plus length. And I can simplify that together by saying 2 widths and 2 lengths. Please go ahead and write that down. The easiest place to start is literally the easiest thing you know. Well, it's a rectangle. What am I solving? Perimeter. Okay. Do I know the perimeter of a rectangle? Yes. No matter what, it's 2w plus 2l. So now, do we know what w is? Well, yeah, it's w. Great. Wonderful. I love when the world works out like that. Do we know what the length is? No, but we do know something about it. Lily?
It might be longer than the width, so you could do 9L plus W.
Now that would be 9 times the length plus the width. 9L plus W. So when something is 9 feet longer, how do I make something longer mathematically? Abby? Addition. What is it longer compared to? Compared to the W. So it is the width plus 9. So we now have figured out what's our width, it's W. What's our length? It is also W, but W plus 9. Does this make sense how we chose the expression for the length? Thank you very much. We're all good. 9 feet longer than its width. So we just write W plus 9. It scares me that people are trying to multiply and do it. Read what it says, analyze, carefully turn it into math. So now, let's plug all this in. My perimeter will be 2 times, well, what did we say our width was? Andrew? Just W, so this stays 2W. But now when I go to do 2 times the length, what is our length? Izzy? What's our length? You literally, Hayden? Yeah, our length is the W plus 9. So we just do W plus 9. Questions on how I set this up? Guys, I want to remind you, guarantee if you have a question, multiple peers have a question. A lot of times I feel like we're sitting in this class just like, if we don't ask anything, it'll be over soon. Class is how long it is no matter what. I want to make sure that we're clear on all this. So please, if you have questions, ask. Abby?
Wait, so we're not actually having like L in this expression. We're just
We do. We just replaced it.
Yeah.
Our L is W plus 9, so we replaced it. Instead of using L, we replace it. And here's the nice thing. Now we only are using one variable instead of using 2 variables.
Yeah. So I mean, like we're just like not using L in the expression, but we're like, what is it?
We're using the length,
Yeah,
but we're not using the variable
we're
L.
kind of like representing.
Yeah, exactly. So now, Izzy? Yeah, but we don't know what the perimeter is, so we can't solve. We can just simplify. First thing we have to do here, distribution. Draw your arrows. 2 multiplies to the W, 2 multiplies to the 9. This becomes 2W plus 2W plus 18. Was that what? Actual exasperation or just saying what? Questions? About?
Where did 18 come from?
2 times 9. The distribution. So draw your arrows. Every arrow is a multiplication. That's why we draw the arrow so that we see what happened. Now combine your like terms. Xavier, what like terms can be combined? And we get plus 18. This is your perimeter. So as soon as they tell you what the width is, then you know what the whole perimeter is. But until you know what the width is, you can't figure anything out. Any questions? Try this with the got it right here. The width of the rectangle is 1/2 its length. Write an expression and simplify it for the perimeter. So we're going to use some of that same info. Perimeter is 2w plus 2l. So we might as well start with perimeter is 2w plus 2l. Then my advice would be what's w and what's l. No, because now the width is 1/2 its length. So now we're given the length is L and the width is something different. So you read through the whole setup, length L, it tells you that your length is just L. That's cursive L, if you are not familiar with seeing that. Sad. Actually, cursive capital L is really sweet. Yeah. So, like, if you write the word lazy, it's actually really hard to write the word lazy. And, like, I forget the Z is always really weird. But, yeah, we always thought it was funny because writing lazy was really hard. All right. Casey, if we know that the length is L, and we're told the width relative to the length, how can we write an expression for the width? Like just the width. Don't try the whole perimeter yet, just the width. What's the problem tell you about the width? Let's talk about what do we know. The width is half of the length. How do we mathematically show something's half of? We can divide by what to get half? What do we divide by to get half of something? What number do we divide by? If you had 18 and you wanted to cut it in half, what would you divide by? That is half of 18. So the length cut in half, yeah, we could divide by 2, or we could have half of L. You can either have L divided by 2 or half of L. Any questions on how we chose this? The width is told to us to be half the length. So you can also over here, this is half L, or this is L divided by 2. And then the top is also just L. So now when we go to write the perimeter, my perimeter, well, I'm going to start with 2L because that's easy. I know what the length is. It's L. The width is a little bit harder. So for the width, I plug in, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and I'm going to use my half L. What happens when I have 2 times a half? If you have half of 2 or 2 times a half, anybody? You get a whole. You get 1. So this becomes 2L plus 1L, and the perimeter ends up being what? 3L. Because think about it. You have 1L, another half L, another 1L, and another half L. These 2 halves combine to make a whole. Any questions? So, you should be able to start on the 7-3, 7-4 combined assignment. All 7-4 is different is it does subtraction. So if you start to get confused, don't submit it, but you should be able to go ahead and start it. We'll do 7-4 tomorrow, and that's why I think I made the due date Wednesday evening. Cool? Any other questions, comments, concerns in general? You're about a minute early, so try to keep it down in the hallway. Be a little quiet, but you guys can go ahead and get out of here.